The global economy has been jolted by a new U.S. trade strategy. In July 2025, President Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs, including a 10% levy on nations aligning with BRICS and a 25% tariff on goods from China, South Korea, and Japan, effective August 1st. These moves sent shockwaves through markets, signaling a major escalation in trade disputes. Trump's message was clear: no exceptions for countries supporting BRICS, and a temporary pause was granted for last-minute negotiations. The timing, coinciding with a BRICS summit in Rio, was a direct challenge to the bloc. The U.S. quickly imposed a 50% tariff on Brazilian goods, linking it to Brazil's internal politics, and even revoking visas for Brazilian Supreme Court justices. This blurred the line between trade policy and political intervention, setting a new precedent. The closure of the de minimis loophole, which had allowed small-value shipments tax-free, further disrupted global supply chains and e-commerce. Postal traffic to the U.S. plunged, hitting small businesses and consumers worldwide. Amidst this protectionism, Trump made a notable exception. Gold was excluded from tariffs. Allies and rivals alike are now scrambling to adapt to these unpredictable new rules. The world is watching as the U.S. leverages economic power for political ends. The stakes for global trade have never been higher. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has become a central player in the shifting global order. Unlike NATO or the EU, BRICS is a strategic partnership focused on economic cooperation and development. The bloc recently expanded, adding Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, and the UAE, boosting its economic and resource clout. For many nations, BRICS offers development opportunities without the political strings attached to Western aid. Its new development bank provides alternative financing for infrastructure. A key BRICS goal: reduce reliance on the US dollar by trading in local currencies, insulating members from American sanctions. Trump has called this a direct threat, warning of more tariffs if de-dollarization efforts succeed. This currency push is fueling US BRICS tensions. BRICS now symbolizes a multipolar world, challenging Western dominance in trade and governance. As traditional US allies like Japan face pressure, BRICS becomes an increasingly attractive alternative. The realignment of global partnerships is underway, with Washington's tariffs accelerating the shift. The US-Japan alliance has anchored Asia-Pacific stability for decades, built on deep economic and security ties. But Trump's tariff threats, 25% on Japanese goods, have shaken this foundation. Japanese industries, especially autos and electronics, face severe risks, forcing Tokyo to question US reliability. Trade negotiations have stalled, creating anxiety and mistrust in Japan's business community. Japan, reliant on trade and imports, is now compelled to diversify its economic relationships. BRICS nations, especially China and India, are emerging as vital partners. The US approach is now more unilateral, treating allies like rivals and forcing Tokyo to reassess its strategy. Past disputes were resolved through cooperation. Today, confrontation dominates. Japanese policymakers must now balance security ties with the US against the need to protect their economy. Strengthening ties with BRICS is no longer optional, it's a strategic necessity. The alliance endures, but the economic partnership is under unprecedented strain. Japan faces a new era of uncertainty and adaptation. The US tariff threats triggered a swift, unified response from BRICS. Meeting in Rio, BRICS leaders condemned the tariffs as violations of global trade rules and signaled collective resistance. As US actions escalated, Brazil's President Lula called an emergency virtual summit to coordinate strategy. The summit's goal: defend member interests, support those hit by tariffs, and accelerate intra-BRICS trade. Leaders discussed using local currencies to reduce dollar dependence and explored practical support mechanisms. External pressure from Washington fostered new BRICS solidarity, overcoming internal differences. The US hoped to isolate BRICS, but instead, it pushed the bloc closer together. The summit marked BRICS's evolution from a loose forum to a coordinated economic force. The world saw a bloc ready to defend its interests and challenge US dominance. The global balance of power is shifting before our eyes. Japan's response to US tariffs has been measured and strategic. Publicly, Tokyo emphasized the importance of the alliance and called for negotiation, avoiding confrontation. Behind the scenes, Japan prepared for turbulence, considering WTO action and potential retaliation. Japanese officials accelerated talks with the EU, Asian partners, and strengthened existing trade agreements to diversify markets. China responded with defiance. South Korea and India also recalibrated their strategies. For Japan, the priority is damage control, supporting affected industries and encouraging supply chain diversification. The government is hedging its bets, seeking a US deal while preparing for the worst. This isn't about choosing sides, but about survival in a volatile global economy. Japan's pragmatic approach reflects the new reality. Alliances are tested, and flexibility is essential. The world is watching how Japan navigates this high-stakes challenge. Japan isn't abandoning the US for BRICS. Security ties with Washington remain non-negotiable. But economic realities are forcing a strategic recalibration. Japan must maintain its US alliance while deepening economic ties with BRICS nations. This isn't about joining BRICS, but about expanding trade and investment with its members. The balancing act is delicate. Japan must avoid alienating the US while protecting its economy. Domestic pressure is mounting for decisive action as businesses grow anxious over US unpredictability. Strengthening BRICS ties is about economic self-preservation, not defiance. Japan's approach mirrors a global trend. US allies everywhere are seeking flexibility in a multipolar world. Countries want to avoid choosing sides, instead, building diverse partnerships for resilience. Japan's outreach to BRICS is a model for middle powers adapting to new global realities. The future demands agility, not allegiance. The surge in trade tensions marks a turning point for global relations. The post-war economic order, built on free trade and US leadership, is under threat. Tariffs risk splitting the world into rival blocs, the US on one side, BRICS on the other. This divide could disrupt supply chains, raise costs, and erode international cooperation. Shared challenges like climate change and pandemics become harder to tackle in a fractured world. Countries like Japan must balance security alliances with the US and economic ties with BRICS. Multi-alignment is becoming the new normal as nations seek flexibility and resilience. The era of simple globalization is ending, replaced by a patchwork of competing agreements. The choices made now by leaders in Washington, Tokyo, and BRICS capitals will shape the global order for decades. The world stands at a crossroads. Its future depends on the paths chosen today.